Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope all of our American listeners had a lovely Thanksgiving, and all of our European listeners are doing their very best to just stay out of the cold. Back at it again with another super duper episode. I was blessed with sterling conversation this week as I chatted with Daniel Narciso. Dan is a native of Miami, Florida, where he currently has two jobs. One is as a senior associate in litigation, while the other sees him as the co-founder of a company called One House Collective, which is a platform that looks after the legal side of creativity for creators so that they can focus on their art. One of our more varied conversations this week on the Chirp topics wise, let it be known, I edit these episodes down as our conversations usually run over the allotted time of 30 minutes that you're also used to hearing. Sorry to burst the bubble of illusion, but we managed to chat about, many things like his work-life balance, his passions, his unique take on how best to, market creatives and find the right work for them, and how one of his jobs, only got started because he was looking after his little brother's best interests. So great to see Daniel have so many things going for him and having fun while doing them. Really appreciated that. And as usual, I had a lot of fun chatting to him, and I hope that fun is transferred to you. So let's dive right in. I hope you enjoy. And here is story 6. Danielson, it was great to hear about you coming on the show. Obviously, given you a bit of research, you wear a couple of hats. Can you talk me through kind of what you have going on at the moment in your life?
Yeah, so I work at a private equity group, specifically within a kind of a niche nascent sector of finance called litigation finance, where basically we invest in anything related to litigation. So if there's a good case, we can invest in that. If there's a good law firm, we can invest in that. If there's any secondaries in that market, we can invest in that. So it's up and coming. It's been around maybe 10 years in the United States. So it's you really find yourself trying to pull from a lot of different areas, which kind of gives you more exposure to different areas of finance, which is a lot of fun. So I enjoy it a lot.
Fantastic. And how, obviously, you are also the co-founder of One House Collective as well. So what kind of takes up more of your time, or what kind of has more of your focus at this stage?
So right now for One House Collective, we're going through a whole rebrand and revamp. So the way that started is my brother and his partner started this creative studio about 6 years back. And while I was in law school, and I had to kind of help them through all the paperwork, the filings, and then got started working with all the contracts and stuff like that. So it really got me connected to the creative world, which then kind of spiraled into this creative network where I got to know a lot of creatives. We got up to 150 creatives underneath our umbrella.
Lovely.
But then realized we weren't really providing as much value as we wanted, because the value that everyone wanted was a job, right? Everyone wanted to get money, get paid, get gigs. And we hadn't built the network nor the infrastructure to be able to provide those on a regular basis. So that's why we kind of shut down a little bit. And now we're in the middle of our process of kind of redoing the entire brand in order to kind of scale up and move forward. So that one is taking not so much time now because it's kind of in the developer's hands. I am no code whatsoever. I have no skills in that at all. So right now, my primary focus is our funds, right? Making sure we fill our funds, making sure we get good investments, servicing our clients. At the end of the day, and no matter what business you're in, you're always in the customer service business. So if you're not dealing with your clients in a respectful, fast, appropriate way, then you're just a product. So that's kind of my focus.
And do you think in your line of work and what you do, is it more common in your personal life or in your working life where, relationships can go, so north or south when it comes to, financial transactions or money in general?
Yeah, no, I think it goes back to making yourself, not taking yourself too seriously, right? I think a lot of people let their relationships slide because they're so focused on a kind of a singular goal or aspect of their life. And I don't think you're going to find somebody that's more ambitious or works harder than me or any of that of the above. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to ruin everyone else's life just to become who I want to be, right? If I can't bring everybody else with me, then what's really the point, you know? And if you're not loyal to the people that are loyal to you, when it's hard to be loyal to you, then there's no real point to it.
Have you any kind of tales of woe or tales of success when it comes to this, where with friends or family?
Yeah, I mean, so I've seen divorces come to it. You know, one funny story is, this doesn't really go off the work-life balance thing, but someone just kind of being done with their money. I had a buddy of mine. He owned his own house. He got engaged, right, and then he ended up putting the property. While he owned the property, he put the title in her name as well. And then they went 5 or 6 years through the engagement, and then she got sick of it and kind of ended the engagement, but she was still in title of the deed. So they were living together while they were broken up, and he ended up losing half the house after 2 years because of that mistake. You know, so he's fine now, but he still lost half his house just because he decided to just put your house in someone else's name for vanity's sake. Exactly.
Yeah. And I suppose, you know, why do you think that is? Obviously, if they had gotten married, would there have been like worse implications in terms of, obviously there would be alimony and things like that, but do you think that he just simply jumped the gun, as in he essentially put his girlfriend on the lease of the house instead of what he thought was his future wife? Wasn't practical.
I don't think he ever wanted to get married. I think he got engaged because she kind of said, "Hey, we've been dating for a few years now. We need to get engaged." And he was like, "Okay." And then she was living there, so he put her on the deed of the house. But it's one of those things where he bought it beforehand, so technically it's not marital property once you get married. So he could have technically kept the apartment to himself even if he got married. Yeah. But the fact that he went another 5 years without getting married, and then got separated, and then she was living in the house and bringing like guys over to the house because that was our house. They were just like roommates. Overall, not a great situation for him.
No.
You know, so.
And he stayed there as well.
Yeah, he stayed there.
He stood his ground.
There. Yeah, he didn't. Yeah. He didn't move. He was like, I paid for this house. I'm not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So then ended up having to sell the house.
Going back to One House Collective, I just kind of, you know, I'd be a creative mind myself, so I'm kind of keen about how you fell into that. Obviously, you grew your network. Are you somewhat of a creator yourself, or where do your hobbies and passions lie in that area?
No, I wish I was a creator. You know, that's such a much more fun life, I think, than sitting behind phone calls and Excel spreadsheets. You know, No, it was just taking care of my brother, making sure my family was protected. Making sure they were cared for, and then their friends came to me, and we started kind of talking, and we started reaching out to more people, building out this network, and turns out the creatives aren't necessarily the most legally literate people in the world in terms of legal terms, financial terms, right? Because if you're an individual creator, right, like you have, let's say you're just a one-man shop, you go in, you don't even have an LLC, but you get paid a couple grand by Nike, right? While you may think, oh, I'm just negotiating with a brand manager across the way, but you're not. You're negotiating with Nike's team of 100 attorneys who came up with a document that benefits them exclusively. You know, so it's about kind of navigating that process. Yeah. And what they do a lot, and I've seen it too many times, is they start accepting jobs through, let's say, Instagram DMs, but they never have a contract in place. So if there's no contract in place, you're only taking their word for it. They're going to pay you what word. And usually it's, hey, let's get on the phone, let's talk about this deal. And they say, hey, I'm going to pay you $5,000 for this job. Just show up on this date. They say, yes, okay, cool. But they never document it. Right. So then you do the job, you turn in the project, and then you say, hey, what's the payment? They say, oh, sorry, I only have $1,000 for you today. And then you're sitting there, it's like, I was supposed to get 5 for this, and then you only get 1. And that's happened more times than you know.
And do you think something like Pigeon Loans, obviously, which is a lending platform, do you think that it could kind of be flipped on its head and used as, you know, a payment platform if needs be, like for creatives, where, as you said, instead of it being used for loans, it could be used to actually, well, you know, agree to this. We'll agree to $5,000. We will pay you, you know, 1,000 now and 1,000 per month for the next 5 months. Do you think there's kind of a use case for that for creatives, or what?
I think it's definitely possible if the speed is there, right?
Yeah.
And I think the speed is going to be there. They're using, not to sound kind of willy, but cryptocurrency, right? That's where I've seen tremendous speed. Mm-hmm. So through my different brokerage accounts, for me to sell something and get that actual liquid paper in, it's going to take 1 to 2 days at the fastest, right? It's got to go through an order system. I can't do it 24/7. I can't do anything. If I want to transfer, let's say I want to transfer 5 or 10 grand to a different bank account, it's going to take 3 to 5 days, right? Because it has to be wire transferred. You know, but this cryptocurrency, you can do that in a matter of seconds. So I think that's where the real advantage is. I mean, I think Pigeon's probably got a faster mover advantage as compared to some of the bigger banks.
Yeah.
Especially if you can transfer cash instantaneously. I know Venmo does it, but they have a cap as to how many Venmo payments you can send in a month. I know Zelle through Bank of America has it, but it has a cap as to how much you can send at a time and within a day. So the ability to kind of instantly wire cash is going to be major, because no one's going to be able to hide behind, oh, give me 3 to 5 days while I send this money through here.
Yeah.
So I do think that's going to be, that has use cases in every single commercial type process.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So say 10 years from now, how do you see, you know, not just loans or, you know, swapping hands, but financial transactions in general? What do you see the norm being in around 10 years from now?
I don't see it all too different from now. I just see it faster. Right. I see it.
And obviously crypto being a huge part of that.
Yeah, I see it way faster. And a lot more 24/7. I see a lot more risk. People being exposed to a lot more risk, so they need to do a lot more research in that space. So I'm not sure if you've kind of been aware with the Constitution DAO, where they tried to buy the Constitution yesterday. So basically,
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, a group of 10 people created this crypto DAO. It's like a decentralized autonomous organization, and within 72 hours, they raised $40 million from 17,000 people to buy the Constitution at a Sotheby's auction. And they didn't end up buying it, but they were able to raise that much cash kind of instantaneously within 72 hours, right? People are starting to do that to invest in companies, right? So it's under no consumer protection laws, no accreditation laws. So right now, let's say you're in the US and you want to invest in a startup. You're technically not allowed to invest in that startup unless you're an accredited investor. An accredited investor means that you made $200,000 over the previous 2 years, or you have over $1 million in net worth, right? So that leaves pretty much everybody else not able to invest in a startup. So let's say your best friend invented Facebook, and you're just a college kid. You technically, unless you're a founder, you wouldn't be able to invest your own capital into that startup. Which is where the DAOs kind of come in, where now you can invest $1,000 into a pool of $1 million that then goes and gets spread out over a bunch of different companies. But without there being any kind of consumer protection in place, there's a lot more risk if you don't really trust the people. So I do think there's going to be a lot more scams, sort of like the Dogecoin, sort of like the Shiba, the Floki coin, all that stuff. They're just scams, right? There's nothing behind them.
They're going nowhere.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot more of those. So people have to be more careful. But I think ultimately it's more freedom than before. So I think to answer your question, to kind of circle back, I think in 10 years from now, there's going to be more freedom in the market and kind of less oversight from the government, from different entities, and more ability to scale and grow fast as opposed to now.
You mentioned earlier that you started One House Collective. Was it for your family? Can you just talk briefly kind of through what your motivations were? Obviously your family was a motivation, but what kind of prompted you to look after your family in that way, and how did you do it?
Yeah, so I'm an older brother, right? So older brothers, they take care of their younger brothers, and my younger brother is a creative through and through, right? So all he cares about is managing the camera, editing the film, creating film, but that's all he cares about. So the business side of it sometimes gets lost on them. It doesn't matter how many times I drill into their heads, make sure you do work with a contract. They end up sometimes not doing it, right? So if someone, my thought was, let's just protect them as much as we can by putting systems in place to make sure they're getting a fair, square deal, right? And as we talked to more of them, they didn't necessarily want someone to read their contracts for them. They didn't really want someone to help them with kind of different accounting. They didn't really want someone to set them up the LLC and shit like that. They wanted gigs. They wanted jobs, right? So that's where the shift came in. And now, in the next month or so, it's going to come out where we're going to start reaching out more to brands and creating a different sort of brand image, where it's more about connection between brands and creatives and make sure they're on the same page. And that's how we're the intermediary. That's how we protect the creative. By being in the middle of the negotiation, being in the middle of every project, so that we can handle the contracts up front, and all they have to do is worry about the product, right? So that's kind of the basic assumption of everything, is protect the creative.
Yeah. And just, if you don't mind me asking, in terms of, monetization for the creative agency, will you work on a kind of subscription model, or will you, potentially take a percentage of whatever gig they get?
Yeah. So we're just going to take a percentage. It's way easier that way. Luckily, I don't think we have to. Luckily, I have a day job, so I don't need a subscription model, right? And I can just eat what I hunt type of thing, and that puts. I think that puts less pressure on everybody. I think the major thing is anybody that signed with us can't expect that within the first month they're going to get $100,000 job, right? If we're just starting off, they can't expect that the first month. But if they're paying a certain amount, let's say they're paying $15 a month, $20 a month for jobs, $100 a month jobs, then those expectations start creeping up where you need to do that right away. And my whole idea is we need to cultivate these relationships with these brands to be able to do this and cultivate this brand image. And without that, and that takes a while, it's taking me multiple years to be able to get the relationships that I have right now in my day job, so it's going to take some time to get these relationships in place in real life, so that's really why we decided on the commission structure instead of the other structure, because there are agencies, right? So there's two different stuff, right? So the creative agencies, and then there are agencies, and agencies have kind of different creatives working for them underneath, and basically they take 25% of everything each creative works on, even if they don't source the job. And I just thought that's bullshit. It's sort of like a sports agent where they just take 3% of every single contract.
Take. Yeah.
Even if they're not playing on the court, they're not doing anything. They're not filming, they're not editing, they're not doing any of the work. Even if they're not sourcing the work, they still get 25%. I just thought that's nuts. So this model kind of flips it on its head where, no, we work for you and we're only going to get paid if you get paid.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the way to do it.
So I think that's kind of the new movement in this space. Because right now it's easier to become a creative than it ever has been. But that also makes it harder, right? Because you need to find your niche.
Saturation.
Exactly. It's very hard to find projects, especially if you don't have an in.
I started as a voiceover artist, I think about a year ago now, and thought I was the bee's knees because I was doing Fiverr gigs every other day for $5.
Yeah.
So you can get gigs like that, absolutely, but obviously when you want to be living off these amounts, my God, you have to graft and grind and hustle.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't even imagine doing. So how many were you doing a day? In terms of the Fiverr gigs?
I was doing like, basically you can go on Fiverr and you can ask for buyer requests, which are, your people will put out gigs that they need done, and they say, oh, I have a budget of $25, and you pitch yourself to them and say, I'll do that. Sometimes you can even charge a bit lower as well. But I would have been doing three to five. I think I did my most shameful one was 100,000 word audiobook for $100.
That's
now,
nuts.
put that into euro, that is, I think, €80, and then Fiverr take 20% as well. So I think I came out with about €60 all in for a long, grueling weekend. But as I said, it's just the beginning, and it's a place to cut your teeth as well. So I think for creatives starting off, something like Fiverr, where you literally need the experience and you'll do it for pebbles, it's a good thing. But I'm 1 year on, and I've a book of clients and things like that. No bueno. Fiverr's no bueno. I'll have to, if a gig comes in and it's well paid, fair enough, I'll do it. I'll move on, but I won't be perusing through trying to get gigs.
It is crazy how much these companies charge. Like Fiverr 20%, Upwork charges a shit ton. TopTal, which is one
Big
for
time.
kind of engineers and developers, they charge tons.
Yeah,
from these guys.
It's rough. And again, they are a business.
Yeah.
As we were saying, banks are businesses. These are trying to make a profit. I think Upwork's a little bit, I think you can get higher paid gigs, all right, on Upwork, but you have to buy tokens. So you'll actually have to pay, $20. You'll get 20 or 10 tokens, and you have to pay per pitch. So it's mental. It's mental. But listen, so I suppose what's kind of, Daniel, what's on in the future for you? You've got kind of two things going on. What, are you looking to the future? What are you hopeful for in your life?
I mean, I'm hopeful to combine them, right?
Yeah.
I'm hopeful to combine them because at the end of the day, you have one sector that's kind of very niche, one pillar in litigation. It's very niche. And not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people play in it, but it's massive, right? It's multiple billions a year in terms of its size, but no one's looking at it, right? Because they think lawyers, that's stuffy. I don't want to talk to lawyers all day, which I totally fair, right? Understandable. And then you have the entertainment sector, right? And if you look at the back end of the entertainment sector, it's really market trends, right? And consumerism. You'll be able to see, okay, which brands are using which creatives for which products. And from there, you can see where the market trends are moving, right? Based on what exactly is being requested of them. What are they selling? What are they pitching? What's the idea behind each product? What's the idea behind each project? And I think that has a ton of value to it. That is crucial. And a lot of people don't know this, but it's sort of similar to a lot of private equity groups are buying out Shopify stores, right? So everyone has a Shopify store where they're selling knickknacks and whatever. But what they don't know is that a lot of times those are owned at this point by private equity groups who can scale them based on back-end distribution, right? So let's say you decide, okay, I'm gonna sell phone cases, right? And you have a special drawing on your phone case, and you set up a Shopify account, and it's a special thing, and you end up scaling to a certain point. You're going to be approached by someone to buy that from you, and you can be completely hands off. The entire business.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be the same with entertainment, with kind of these market trends, because every single creative studio has certain information on different brands as to what they're thinking, where they're going, and what's the next step, right? So if you have that information, you can kind of anticipate the trends and see where they're going to go, and kind of preempt it and prepare for it and make sure that you're never behind the 8 ball. So eventually, if I can figure out a way to combine them, that'd be great. But for now, I'm just having fun.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad you're having fun. And it's clear to see as well with kind of the 2 jobs that you have. Kudos to you for that. If people want to get in touch with you for whatever, I'm sure you have numerous ways for people to contact you. What's the best way for people to email you, or your socials, or whatever you want to show to the world?
I just started on Twitter.
Oh, God love you.
I just started up because of, not to kind of go off in pace, but I'm part of this thing called the Shrimp Society out of Miami. I think Brian's also part of it.
I've heard of it, yeah.
And it's a great new group of kind of young and up-and-coming founders out of Miami, which is now kind of a tech startup in of itself. And I got on there because there's this new NFT project coming out. I think it's being minted at the end of the month. So I got in there to kind of build it up, do whatever I can, and ended up getting addicted to being on Twitter. And I was never a fan of Twitter. My entire Twitter thread is now NFTs, cryptocurrencies, just because I've gotten hooked over the past couple of weeks, and real estate for some reason.
Yeah.
So, and VCs, I'm like, how did I get hooked on this? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, listen, these things that you're tweeting, they aren't wrong. So that's the main thing.
Well, at least I'm not
They're
wrong.
not abusive or evil. Yeah. At least you're not wrong.
Yeah, I guess that's a positive. I'm gonna tweet that next.
Yeah. And what is your Twitter handle as a matter of interest?
It's Dan_Narciso_. So that's my Twitter handle, and then I would give you my OneHouse email, but the thing is, we're changing the OneHouse email now too, because it used to be you go through all these iterations with your businesses where you think, oh, I'm being creative, right? So the website is 1ha.us, but it's only because I couldn't buy onehouse.com. So it's like, oh, people are going to be able to find this because it's clever, right?
You can use anything now, exactly, yeah.
But
now you're screwed.
But it's not clever, right? It's just difficult to find. And it's like, what? Yeah. One hot? It's like, what's that? I'm like, I get it.
One hot.us.
One hot. All right, I don't know what that is. So, and we're about to change the email anyways to either .io or .co. Not sure yet which one. And
very good.
So I'll update you as soon as I figure that out. But honestly, Twitter is probably just the easiest way to find me and reach out.
Get in touch.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, listen, Daniel, I knew it would be fun, and that's exactly what it was. So any, apart from your tweets, any other final words of wisdom for our audience?
Be loyal to those who are loyal. That part. Yeah. No.
Absolutely.
I guess just treat people nice. It's not that hard. Like and every single person's dealing with their own shit. So make sure you're just kind, because there's really no substitute for for kindness.
Well, 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 the world gets more and more interesting every single day when you hear of a group of investors trying to bid on the Constitution of the United States. One of the many interesting topics that Daniel brought up. It was clear that Daniel was exceptionally bright and very clued in with today's financial landscape. And again, it was great to, be able to ask him questions about what he thought the future of lending looks like, and his answer being speed. He's impressed with the speed in which crypto works compared to banks, and that's how he sees, lending operating in the next 10 years. Faster transactions and more transactions. And it makes you think about many things, like how are we going to get paid by our employers? How many different types of loans will there be? Transactions are lightning fast, and they're getting faster, and it's exciting to see where it all leads. I also appreciated Daniel telling me how he's looking to blend his two roles into one. That's something that I'm always trying to do in all of my roles. I'm trying to cross over the skills and amalgamate my passions and make my day-to-day seem like one cohesive effort into one end goal, and that is to enjoy myself. And that's something that Daniel proudly stated is the case for him. So another fortnight, another episode. I hope you enjoyed that one. If you're enjoying the podcast and want to get involved, please do reach out. We love to hear from you, so let me know. Respect to everyone who has reached out and shown us love. We really appreciate it. So best of luck, and see you in 2 weeks' time for story number 7. Take care.